Hello, I was gonna say good evening, but it's a bit early for that. I'm never usually on this early. It's the full-time red show on the LFC Daytrippers. I'm gonna look back at Liverpool against Burnley. I'm joined by Kev. Kev, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Relax now and
Yeah,
breathe. It's one of
yeah.
those. It's one of those, isn't it?
It's always one of those, isn't it? It's always. I think it's mythically more difficult than it usually is. You know,
Yeah.
Burnley are. They've a way of
Agricultural.
playing. They have a style. Comes from their manager. You know,
Yeah.
it is what it is, and you just know what to expect. But what we'll do, Kev, we'll go back and we'll look at the lineups and see if it was what you expected. So Liverpool lined up strong, I think.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see that the full team with the bench today, wasn't it? To see who's missing out, because we had full house really for the first time in, Jesus, I don't know how long. I can't remember.
Probably the beginning of the season, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've ever been as strong, you know, on a match day than we probably are today.
Yeah.
And that's not hyperbole. That's a genuine. You're looking at all the players are back. You know, all the players are fit relatively, and yeah, just to get the game in was nice. But everyone else can just throw your comments in there. Let us know what you thought of the game as we go on. We'll throw a few up on the screen. But Kev, the lineup. So it's Alisson in goal. It's Robbo, Virgil, Joel, and Trent at the back. Naby, Fabinho, Hendo in midfield, and Mane, Firmino, and Salah up top. Very old school lineup, that one, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, the only surprise was Sadio. That was the biggest surprise for me. It was the midfield. I thought that was what he would go with. Bearing in mind, Thiago's still coming back from injury, and you're managing minutes across the midfield and up front, really. So I was surprised to see Sadio playing. I genuinely was. I didn't expect him to come on, but apparently the rumor had it that Jota picked up a dead leg yesterday in training, which meant that it made sense. I don't think Diaz would have been thrown into that kind of a game in those conditions until he's more hardened to the league and more aware of the players that he's playing with. So and I think the rust showed a bit at times in a few of them. We didn't join up the play very well, but we weren't allowed to either. It was just one of those type of games where the ball's in the air an awful lot, and you're not whenever you do get control in those kind of conditions with the wind, playing with the wind, any kind of balls that you're playing in are going to go flying off towards Nick Pope unless they're inch perfect. So it's just one of those. And it is, unfortunately, you're going to hear that a lot today. It is one of those.
Yeah.
That you take your points, you get out of Dodge, and be glad that no one got injured. There's nobody that you're worried about coming off, and you move on to Milan next for Wednesdays. But it is going to be game every 3 or 4 days. You're going to get, your odds are you're never going to get the same lineup twice on the bounce. There's certain positions that are going to be rigid and stay, but players will be rotated around that. So I was happy with the lineup. I've got to be honest. I was happy with it. So if that's not enough to go against a side who's only had one win all season, then we've no business being in a race for the title.
Yeah.
Just so as we have.
Yeah. No, it was a battle hardened lineup, I think. I know I agree with you about Luis Diaz getting put in, and even Harvey Elliott. Under the circumstances, probably in hindsight, wasn't the game for the two of those lads. But something you touched on there, Kev, was the weather conditions. And look, it's easy to blame the weather. And when you lose a game, you can blame, and people say it's excuses, but there was no benefit to that. Sometimes you'll say, "Oh, well, you have the wind or you're against it." There was no benefit today. It was just
not
horrendous.
not for our type of game. For Burnley, there was.
Oh yeah, for them.
For Burnley, there was the way they play, especially in the first half. You can play those long balls into the wind with a bit of extra power, knowing that the ball is going to get held up.
Yeah,
and you can make that run from slightly deeper, knowing that it will get held up, and you play to that, and that's their game. And they know their ground inside out. They know what it's like when the weather's like that. We go there once a year.
Yeah.
So, and it does take getting used to, and I don't care how good a player you are. It's not Turf Moor is not your traditional modern day football ground where it can be howling a gale outside. If you're at Anfield, it can be windy as you like outside, but the stands protect the playing surface, so the ball travels through. It's not like it was. It's not like it is in open ended grounds. Like it is different, and it does take getting used to.
It does indeed. Kieran B has a comment up there. Was it not a penalty on Salah? We will come to that in a few minutes. Kieran Doyle says, sad to see the drop off in Hendo. Should no longer be a starter. We'll come on to hit that as well. A lot of people saying about the penalty decision, but the game starts anyway, Kev.
Yeah.
We line up as we line up, and Burnley, in fairness, line up in their 4-4-2 with two big giants up front. Yeah. It's as expected. That's not a dig at them. It sounds like a dig. It's just how they play. They play to their strengths. Yeah. And
the only surprise to me with Burnley was that McNeil didn't start.
That was surprising, because
they started with Aaron Lennon on the right, and I thought,
what was his thinking? What do you think was his rationale behind that? Because Lennon didn't really do anything. He didn't offer them much defensive sort of cover that McNeil wouldn't do.
I suppose you're going to have a natural right footer on the right hand side, and if you didn't want McNeil cutting back into his left onto his left foot and giving our back four time to set and push up, that may be it, because when he came on the left hand side, and he pushed Max Corney up front for a bit of pace. But I think if he was determined to stay on the front, to stay with that front two, he needed natural width on either side to be able to go outside and whip crosses across with their natural foot rather than check back. That's about the only thing I could put that down to.
Yeah, indeed. Owen says, apart from the 10 and 15 minute spell in the first half, we controlled Burnley. I'm going to come on to that as well, because I don't think there was any 10 or 15 minute spell that Burnley were doing too much, but I take it on board. We were very sloppy. Megan says, big 3 points, get in the Redmen. And look, that's the most important thing today, isn't it? You go into a place like that and you're in the moment that we're in, where we have our big lads back, confidence is flying, and you have to keep that momentum going. You have to keep your foot on the gas and push through. And look, it might be pie in the sky saying we're chasing down City, but every win does put pressure on, and you have to, if we slip up at all, that relieves the pressure on City. Yeah. So we just have to keep doing our jobs and just going in and getting wins. And you go in there, and as you said, the weather plays havoc with things, and you just have to get the job done. But the game starts, Kev, and I thought we started off very poorly. And I'm going to highlight two players who I thought were absolutely dreadful. And it's not Jordan Henderson, although I am going to come on to him because there is a question to be had. I thought at the start, Trent and Matip, I thought were absolutely horrific and couldn't find their passing range at all. Now, I know the conditions did play into that. But from players that you'd expect to see, good at controlling and passing, it took them a while to settle into the rhythm of the game, didn't it?
It did. Joel's got this thing with his passing, and I've said it on here a couple of times recently. He doesn't fizz balls. He's very deliberate about his passes, and he makes it sure it's on target to get to where it needs to get to, but there's no pace on it, and Trent was unusual for him, but at the same time, he wasn't getting the help from runners around him, from people running away from the ball. I thought Mo and Sadio, especially, they didn't check their runs and run the other way, make Peters go back with Salah that often. Everyone kept coming to the ball, and they almost created bottlenecks in the middle of the park rather than stretching the play out wide. But like I said, it took a bit of time to get them sorted out, but they did sort it out eventually. You're never going to get the perfect 90 minutes, but there was things about that first half that were frustrating to watch, because what they did effectively. They were able. Weghorst won most headers in the air, and when they decided to go long to him, there's certain things that you can do to set up to counteract that. One of them being Fabinho standing in front of wherever Weghorst is. And that didn't happen enough. And if you're not going to beat someone like him in the air, you win the second balls. And more often than not, we did. But when we didn't, the offside trap worked pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know where people watched it, if they were watching on a stream, but I was watching Michael Owen and Robbie Keane talking about Liverpool's high line and, Burnley putting on this pressure. I never felt it, Kev, to be honest. The game is going on and Burnley are creating these chances, and it's only because the flag isn't going up at the time that the chance is going on, and if nothing comes of it, it gets played on. Is it a frustration for you that this thing happens when some of them are blatantly offside? Like, for example, there's a chance in the first half and Alisson has to come out and heads the ball, and I think it's Cornet runs into him.
Yeah.
And it's offside, and everyone can see it's offside. Now, luckily, Alisson doesn't get creamed in that, but he could have been. Do you know what I mean? And is it? We're not far away from somebody getting hurt from chasing down one of these instances.
Look, I don't know about you. I don't know if people in the chat might have watched it. I didn't watch any of the Club World Cup, but apparently they're trialing that new virtual offside, and it's a semi-assisted offside technology that's going to be rolled out in full in the World Cup in Qatar. And I'd imagine leagues will be encouraged to take that up from after that, really.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The problem with the offsides are they will, if you want the flags up early, they will miss goals because they're almost comfortable in what they're doing now, letting it go late. And when all the talk is, someone's going to get injured this season, no one's got injured this season. And we've played however many games in the Premier League this season. And that's all you hear from commentators is, someone's going to get clattered. They don't. Not really. You might get the odd clash, but very rarely. And I'd rather them do it this way and allow for that. And it's mainly for the second runner, the crosses, when something looks blatantly offside when they're not. And I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from as well, where common sense tells you, look, you're about 5 yards offside there, mate. I'm putting my flag up. Those ones they have to pull up because it slows the game down. If anything, it just slows the game down. But anything that's within borderline, or even if it's a yard, let it go, because across the lines of the pitch, who knows if the groundsman is cutting the right lines? You don't know. But it's always going to be a contentious one.
I agree 100% with you on that, Kev. It's not the I think it should always play on if there's any way, a doubt or a possibility of a doubt. But when you see some of them and the linesman knows
second half as well,
that's blatantly onside.
Yeah, there was one in the second half with Cornet, and he rounded Alisson. Alisson did really well, and if that was in normal general play and he was onside, it was brilliant goalkeeping.
Yeah,
but he was a couple of yards offside.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
It's a frustration. It's an annoyance more than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I get that.
But they had, again, they were talking about Burnley chances and Burnley pressure, but it's always caveated with Liverpool's high line.
Yeah.
We're brilliant at the high line.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We are excellent at playing that high line. Yeah. And we play it because we know chances will get, if we play it right, chances will get put back. And it's all about risk versus reward. So, it's the way we play, and it's.
I think when they introduced VAR, we went higher.
Yeah. Once we knew we could do that, once we knew there was a jail card, get out jail free card.
Yeah, today was actually one of those days that I thought, do you know what? And I would never say this often. You could have been a bit more cautious with it, because of the conditions and the way that they were floating floated balls in, trying to find the ball over the top, or the flick-ons. You have to be really careful with that. But in that 45 minutes, I thought we managed it pretty well. They got in a couple of times, but they're going to. This is a new Burnley. This isn't the Burnley before January when they had Chris Wood up front. Weghorst is a very good player, and he's very good at what he does, and he could do it better than most. As big tall strikers go, he might not be the best finisher in the world, but he gets chances, and he creates chances for those around him. And Van Dijk couldn't get near him in the headers. Nobody could.
So he causes trouble. He does cause trouble, and we've seen that before with him. And it's one of them where I don't know. It's not pretty. It's not pleasing on the eye, but
No.
it's effective, and it does what a team like Burnley need. And what they just need is just balls to drop in the box, and then hope to nick something. And they just never, to be honest, to me, they never look like it. But we had a big contentious issue in the first half. Kev, Mo Salah gets kicked in the box, it breaks away to a Burnley chance. Is it a penalty for you?
I'm gonna have to watch the highlights back because unfortunately the venue that I was using to watch it decided to freeze about 30 seconds beforehand. So I'll ask you the same question. What did you think? Because I haven't seen any highlights of it at all.
Yeah, we'll throw it to the chat. What do you think, lads, in the chat? Do you think it's a penalty or it wasn't? To me, it catches him. It's as clear as day. And I don't know if it's Mo's delayed fall. And when I say delayed fall, it wasn't a ridiculously delayed fall. He skips past him. Weghorst just pulls his leg across and takes Salah's foot out. With VAR looking at it, I don't know. You don't know what rules they're looking at, and they're talking about this high bar stuff now, where it has to be absolutely blatant. But it looked a penalty to me. But it's one of them. You win some, you lose some. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say it was a stonewall, or it's one that I think we should have got. But
if that's the case, that's 2-2 because he should have had one in the last game when he was cleaned out.
Yeah,
and that, for the life of me, I cannot understand how that wasn't a pen. I could, just because he got a shot off, there's no consequence to the fact that it was a blatant, dirty foul. But I will watch before tonight. I will watch proper highlights of today's game. You can ask me again later.
No problem. There's just a few of the lads in there that are saying Stonewaller. Emmett says free everywhere else on the pitch, so it's a pen. And that we had this discussion. You know what I mean? It was. It's the age-old thing. It's a fucking penalty. If it's a foul, it's a foul. It shouldn't be any sort of influence on. Oh well, it's in the box and all. It's ridiculous. But a lot of the lads in the chat seem to think that it's a foul. The reclaimer says a foul is a foul, hard or soft, and that's it. It's a foul.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
They break and go up to the other end and nearly score one of their chances. But the half is ticking on. The conditions were atrocious. And look, you have to play the conditions. We know that. But you could see on a couple of the corners where Trent was taking them, the corner flag was nearly bleeding horizontal from the wind.
I thought at one stage the corner flag was broken, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was bending at 45 degrees.
I think it's it looked like the little the pivot on the end of it was a bit flexible. I don't know, and I don't know if it was that windy, but you could see the ball even rolling when Trent was trying to place it. So you could tell sort of it was a bit of a pig of a day. But coming the first half is rolling on, and eventually we get the breakthrough. The only goal of the game, and it's from Fabinho. He's on a nice little streak at the moment, isn't he?
Five in his last 4 games or something like that.
Yeah, it's good.
It was a nice corner. It was a lovely flick back into space because Sadio couldn't get anything on it. So he just put it into a space. And Fabinho timed his run and timed the knock on, the second effort. He stayed on balance and finished it off. It was a really good corner because you can't put them into the middle of the box with Nick Pope in there because he will come and clear pretty much everything. So the corners have to be either they have to go deep or they have to come into the first third, one or the two. So it was a good delivery, nice flick on, good goal.
Yeah,
and for me, it was against the run of play because we did nothing threatening going the other way. It was we had the ball, but we did nothing with it.
Sadio had a chance not long before.
Yeah, it was
the ball comes in and he smashes it at Pope. He
smashes it straight at Pope, but that was it. There was nothing else.
But the goal is quite similar because. It drops. Fabinho reacts to it, smashes it, hits off Pope.
Yeah.
Who, as a goalkeeper, he tends to get very lucky with these sort of, he's in the right place, I suppose.
I suppose that's positioning as well.
And that's good. But he can't react to the knockdown, and Fabinho follows in, and it's actually a nice little goal for him. It's from another corner. I was at the Brentford game a few weeks ago, and he gets one from a corner there. It's more goals than Maria from a midfielder, whether you're the 6, the 8, the 10, or whatever you are.
But he's a big unit. He's 6'1", and he's well capable in the air. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a shot on him as well, and he doesn't take it. He had one in the going at towards the end of the first half where it was just a bad decision. You know, I don't know. It was in the second half, the start of the second half, where he should have passed it out to Mo, but he didn't. He took a shot and it just kept going higher. But he's well capable of getting goals, especially from set pieces. If you've got your two big centre backs at 6'4" and 6'5", having two or three other 6-footers in and around the box, usually with one of them being Wood Henderson, Fabinho is another one. They should get more, or they should at least get chances. You know, and I'm delighted for him because I thought he was good today again.
Yeah, again, keep coming back to the conditions don't help, and I thought he done what needed to be done. Before we go on to the second half, Kev, Jordan Henderson picks up a yellow card around the half-hour mark, and he picks up a bit of a knock in it, and it was from a poor touch.
Yeah,
gets away from him, and he stretches to get it back and takes out Eric Peters.
It was Peters,
yeah, it was
Peters jumped on his knee, landed on his knee. And
yeah,
it's one of those innocuous ones that you think, you just hope that 20 minutes later you haven't got a fluid build up on your knee or something like that. You know, we'll know more later. But
he plays on. He plays on the rest of the half. He's not. You know, let's be clear. I thought he was exceptionally poor today, Jordan Henderson. He puts in a lovely pass, a lovely cross.
That was on. I looking down here. That was on about the 19th minute, and it was an absolute brilliant cross.
Yeah,
you know, and that was the only one he did in the game. Those so-called, you know, first-time floaty crosses. That wasn't a floaty cross. That was a whipped in with pace for Sadio at the back post. And either Sadio didn't read it or he just couldn't get on it. But it was a completely different game than your normal. Like you watch the Milan game on Wednesday night, and it will be a completely different game. You know, there will be a game that's played in midfield. This wasn't a game that was played in midfield. And I don't think any of the 2-8s that played today covered themselves in any kind of glory at all. So they did okay. We kept a lot of possession, but it was possession for the sake of it. And it was almost, in the second half, it was almost managing the game.
Yeah.
You know, managing the time and working the clock down. And that's okay as well. But yeah, it wasn't either him or Naby's best game today.
I thought Naby was okay. He wasn't great. He was okay. That's all you'd say about
that's what
him.
I mean.
As you said there was nothing spectacular. I thought Hendo was poor. And look, I'm one of Hendo's biggest fans. I don't, dig him out just to be trendy or anything like that. Or I think he's struggling a bit at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how the team develops, because I think a lot of people, if you want to look at the ideal midfield you want to see starting on Wednesday night, is Hendo in it for you? We'll come on to this in a few minutes, but would you have?
No, he's not. But he's not for different reasons.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We'll definitely get onto it, but it's not for his ability.
But we go into the second half. We're 1-0 up. The second half starts and Hendo comes out then early on. What times he come out at? 50 something, I think. 59 minutes, so just on the hour he comes out.
Just on the hour,
just comes out for Thiago. And I think when Thiago comes on, we see what we were missing in that midfield. It's the control. Yeah. It's the he dictates the tempo, he dictates the play. Emmett says it here. Thiago changed the game.
Well,
when he came on.
When he came on, the first
rising,
the first thing he did is took a ball down his chest and volleyed a pass into Mo.
Yeah.
In behind, into the wind, put a bit of bottom spin on it, so he sliced underneath. If you're, and it was just a release of pressure, and that's what he does. He releases pressure when he's on the ball. But it was no coincidence that 5 minutes later, Weghorst went off, and Ashley Barnes came on, and then their threats just disappeared.
Yeah.
So it was a completely different game for Thiago. It was an easier game for Thiago to come into because of the way Burnley had to play with Cornet up front and with Ashley Barnes up front.
Well, yeah, it's McNeil comes on the hour as well for Rodriguez. Yeah. So they're losing Rodriguez, who's big and again another target
runner,
man,
yeah.
and Cornet goes up there.
Yeah, so they have to go through midfield that little bit more.
Yeah, and then
that's
to
what we
lose
blocked it off.
Weghorst on top of that for Ashley Barnes, who, you know, he's caused us trouble before. He caused a lot of teams trouble before, but he's not the player he was a few years ago. And you're right, the threat went out, but I thought we managed it well then. You know, I thought when Thiago came on, we managed the game better.
Yeah. He gives you that level of control, doesn't he?
He does. And what I found with him was that every time the ball was breaking in the Burnley half, he was getting onto it. You know, he wasn't letting them settle on it. He wasn't letting them rest with the ball. He was putting that bit of pressure. And look, it's a hard game to press in them conditions today, but I thought he tried to do it. He gave us that bit more control, and I thought we needed that. But look, the game goes on. Is there any other talking points in it? Not really.
Not really. It was one of those that I think there was one big chance that Salah and Jota were 2v1 against Ben Mee, and it was just a bad pass for Jota and it gave Tarkowski that fraction of a second to get back. And I don't know if he got a foot on it, but he definitely stopped Jota from taking a shot. If that ball was fizzed in at a bit of pace, then Jota makes it 2, and it's a relaxed second half.
Yeah,
it's a relaxed last 10 minutes. But other than that, we managed it really well, and I don't think Alisson had too much to do in the second half. You know, bar coming out and clearing off his line and what have you, or just clearing in the box. He didn't have much to do.
Yeah, no, it was relatively comfortable. So as we said, you take your 3 points, you get out of Dodge, you get back to Liverpool. The confidence is gone, the momentum is gone. It's all looking good. It's all looking rosy. Hold on 1 second. My daughter is sitting. Can you hear the echo of the show? She's sitting at the door here with playing this on her ma's phone, so I'm sending out a message to get rid of her.
Bribery usually works, mate.
Yeah. But look, Wednesday night we move on to Inter Milan. A difficult game. It's going to be a hard one. But how do you see us lining up?
Plenty. There's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, fly out Tuesday, training session Tuesday, play Wednesday. I wouldn't expect the back five to change. Maybe Kanate comes in, but depends. I wouldn't mind seeing Kanate come in for Joel. I think Thiago starts, Fabinho starts, and it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for fresh legs in an 8, maybe Chamberlain or someone else. Maybe even stick with Naby. He's going to have a decision to make on one of the 3 central midfield places. I think Jota starts ahead of Bobby, and more than likely, depending on how Sadio recovers, I'd imagine Sadio and Mo will start. You know, they've earned the shirts and it's theirs to lose. And they haven't done anything in today's performance, I don't think. And it's harsh to judge them off one performance since they've been back to say, yeah, you definitely deserve to lose it. But I think Jota will play through the middle.
Emmett says Kanate in for Matip, Fab, Thiago, and Elliot or Jones for him. And that's sort of what I would do as well.
Elliot would be a massive call.
It'd be a big call, but I think I think Klopp trusts him. Do you know what I mean? And I think Klopp will trust him to go in there and do it. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised. And the same with Jones. I think what he wants is Hendo's ball retention. It's not as good as it was. His carrying of the ball isn't as good. And I think the young lads might be the option, to go. Ox could be a shout, all right, but
I think more on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side. The thing is that it wouldn't matter who he played there, because I don't think Elliot is going to be up to match sharpness yet. He's had a couple of sub appearances after a long layoff. He's going to have to build up his match fitness and strength. I think the Norwich game at the weekend, I think we'll play Norwich the following at the weekend after Milan.
Yeah.
I think that would be the one for him to target to start, maybe Elliott comes off the bench in Milan. I mean, the big miss for Milan is Barella's out for the 2 legs. He's key to their midfield.
Yeah.
They have a good side, but they have an experienced side with the likes of Perisic as well. You know, Dzeko up front is, you know, drinking from the fountain of youth. That man.
Oh, I think he's one of the best forwards in Europe in the last 20
Yeah.
years. I think he's one of the most underrated. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
Proves he can play with anyone,
now.
any style. You know, however you want to play, he can do it.
Yeah.
Handanovic will probably be in goal from Skriniar at the back. They're a good side. Top of the Serie A as well, I think.
Yeah, I think we should have enough to beat them. You know, we should have enough to beat them.
Should have enough. It's just you're into knockout football now. Yeah. You know, home and away. There's no away goals, but at the same time, if you can put a marker down in the away legs, it makes a home leg that bit easier. You know, so
yeah,
we'd want to be. I don't know if they're playing tonight. I haven't seen it. So
Inter, they were on last night.
They played last night.
Yeah, they played Napoli. They drew 1-1, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I think they were 1-0 down, and they might have got. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think they played. I'll check now. Italy. Yeah, they drew 1-1 with Napoli.
Emmett's saying there they went full strength against Napoli.
Yeah,
they have to. You know, they're going for a Serie A title, and it would. It's a close run thing at the top of Serie A between them, AC Milan, Napoli are in and around there as well. So
Milan are top, Inter are second, but they've a game in hand. They're only a point behind, and Napoli are third, a point behind Inter. Yeah. And then there's a 8-point gap between them and Juve and fourth. So yeah, it's
a proper title race. Yeah, you know, and that'll go down to the wire. So they're I wouldn't say their eyes are going to be firmly fixed on the league, but Italian sides don't tend to do well in knockout competition in Champions League and even into Europa League. They come out of the groups, they might go through the last 16 into the last 8, but that tends to be the end of them. They're not the all-powerful Serie A that we grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, they're good, but they're not at the top table.
No.
Not for me.
They're certainly not. And we saw with Milan in the groups, nothing to fear in them, and they're neck and neck with them, you know. So I'm not saying you judge one off the other, but if it's an indicator of the strength maybe of Serie A, it's probably not as high as it has been in years gone by. And you're right, they haven't been producing there. So did we pick a team there?
I reckon that I think he'll play Konate. I think Jota will play up top.
Yeah.
I don't know who he'll go for as a third midfielder.
Yeah.
But I think Fabinho and Thiago look for me anyway, to be the two best central midfielders that we have on form at the minute.
Yeah. I think Jones will be the third one in. I think he'll go.
Well, he's got a complete rest today. He wasn't in the match day squad at all. And he put a tweet out before kickoff, come on, Redmen. So he's not a case of he's unhappy about it. I think they all know now that, look, you're going to have weeks where you're not involved in the match day squad. Have a day off. Take the missus out. You know, it's Valentine's weekend. Have a break from football. Have a mini break. You know, you don't play for a week.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have the luxury of being able to do that and collect 3 points.
The games will come thick and fast. There'll be plenty of options for player, and especially for the likes of Curtis Jones, who is in around the first 11. You know, whether people don't like that, he's getting minutes, he gets game time, he has to trust the open Klopp, and that's good enough for me. So we'll leave it there, Kev. We'll be back on later. Myself and yourself will be on, and Gav. I don't know who else is on tonight. I think Shawnee's a bit under the weather, so I don't think it'll be himself. But we'll see. There'll definitely be somebody in there.
Yeah, someone will bound to turn up. If anyone in the chat has any idea what the women's score was today, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I know Chris was at the game.
Yeah, Chris was at the game today, so don't know how that went.
I think it was 0-0 at half time. The last we've seen, they were a bit sluggish. But
and we got Super Bowl tonight, so
Super Bowl tonight, I'll be staying
long
up
night
for
ahead.
That. Yeah, indeed.
I got to be up in the morning, so as much as I want to, I think I'll probably last about an hour. I think about 1 o'clock, I think, will be about my limit.
They're 3-0 win.
3-0 win.
That's nice.
Massive.
Happy days.
That is
good
massive.
Result,
That's really big. That's really big.
Fair play. Delighted with
Brilliant
that.
news. Chris will be buzzing off that.
Chris will be chuffed, yeah, exactly. But look, that's a good result for them.
Yeah.
But look, we might touch on it again later. So yeah, look, we leave it there. Féileacáin, you see the name up in the corner there. I'm sure you're all aware that what Féileacáin is now. It's our charity partner. We're looking to promote as much as we can and raise as much funds for this charity. It's for people who have suffered bereavement during or just after pregnancy. It's something that hits the home of a lot of people, and the description will be in the information will be in the show description and on our website. Get in and have a look, share, donate, do whatever you can, help us out on that. And we know everyone does all the time, so we'd expect that we should smash our target because of the generosity of people in the chat spreading and donating, and that's all we can ask with that. So look, thanks very much for that. And look, we'll leave it there. We will talk again later on. We'll go more in depth into the match. Kev can go and have a look at that blatant penalty. I definitely
want to see that
blatant penalty. But look, we'll leave it there.
It wasn't a decider.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing worse, but you can have a little moan and a little laugh about it when it's not. It'd be different if it was. But we will leave it there and we'll come back to you all again later. So we'll talk soon. Take care.
See ya. Bye.